Hello and welcome. Today's podcast is about resilience. So I'm recording this a day before New South Wales reopens after a very long COVID-19 lockdown. And resilience feels like a highly relevant concept in this moment. So I hope to dive into some explanation around resilience to begin, and then finish the podcast with a short exercise for you just to experience your own resilience, to connect into the part of yourself which is grounded and solid, but flexible enough to adapt to the day-to-day changes that are coming our way. So let's start with what we mean by resilience. And to be fair to all the researchers out there, there are lots of different ways that resilience is defined. There's lots of differences between the definitions. But let's just take an overarching look and not get bogged down into the specific differences. So resilience means to overcome hardship or to remain strong in oneself in the face of a challenge or a crisis. And if we think about a small baby tree growing up from the soil, and a strong wind comes along and it blows the tree to one side, bending that little plant over. The wind passes eventually, and if the small tree bounces back into its upright position, just like the position it was in before the wind came along, then that is called resilience. So once adversity passes, being able to return to the position you were in prior, to not have experienced any permanent negative effect from it, coming back to who you were beforehand. And now there's also another way to use the word resilience, and this is in the sense of coming out the other side of adversity in an even stronger position. So gaining something important from the crisis or the challenge. And some psychologists call this adversity-activated development. So this isn't just about returning to your original path after a crisis has passed. Rather, it's about being changed by that crisis and changed in a way that develops you or makes a positive contribution to your growth. It may not have been a pleasant experience, and usually it's not, but you come out the other side with a new perspective or a new set of skills which will add to your growth and flourishing moving forward. So let's return to the tree metaphor. So trees are not only resilient in the face of wind, but researchers have found that many trees actually become stronger as they grow because they are exposed to wind. So the tree not only bounces back into position, but over time it develops a stronger trunk in response to the wind. So if we think about people now, rather than trees, there are lots of ways that a person can come out the other side of a crisis or a challenge or a lot of wind with a new perspective on life, a new way of seeing the world, or with a new set of skills that can help to advance them towards their goals and their values in a way that they didn't have prior to the crisis. And so this is what we mean by adversity-activated development, is that you leave the crisis having actually gained something helpful. And again, that does not imply that the experience is pleasant. Now, very briefly, some important components to resilience are flexibility, emotional flexibility, mental flexibility, physical flexibility. Self-regulation is important, so ways that we can slow down, notice what we're experiencing, what are our feelings, our thoughts in this moment, those automatic impulses to behave in particular ways, taking a moment to observe those and learning to just sit with them for a minute, breathe, and make a conscious decision about how to react rather than impulsive reactions. A focus and a commitment to our values is really important, so figuring out what our values are and using those as important guideposts in terms of how we respond in difficult times, again, rather than impulsive reactions. An acceptance of what we can't control, often that involves an acceptance of other people, that we can't change or control other people. And again, coming back to oneself and one's values as something we can focus on in those times. And really importantly, learning to see failure as a form of helpful feedback. Failure can tell us very important things about our approach or ourselves, or how we might try something slightly differently in the future. Failure is important, and failure is normal, and starting to see it as potentially being quite helpful. So let's do a very short exercise together now. The first thing that I'd like you to do is just to connect into your breath. Breath in. And a breath out. Just notice your breathing. I want you to think of a time in the past, nothing recent, but a time in the past when you faced a crisis or a challenge, when things felt really difficult. Now consider how you came out the other side of that period of time. How were you when you came out the other side of it? In what ways were you able to be resilient, to come back to yourself, come back to your values and your goals in life? Return to what we might call normal, for lack of a better term. And what helped you to be able to do that? And it's okay if you don't think you did that very well in that scenario. If that's the case, then maybe what were the things that didn't help? What were the things that maybe got in the way of you being able to be as resilient as you would have liked to have been? What helped and what got in the way of your ability to, like that little tree that got blown around in the wind, to be able to bounce back into that upright position? And was there anything that you actually gained from the experience that was useful to you, that has helped you advance and progress in life in a way that you wouldn't have without that experience? Maybe a new relationship or relationships, maybe a new perspective on yourself, on others, on the world. Maybe you got better at doing something. Maybe you learnt a new skill. Maybe you realized that you have some values or things that matter to you that you'd forgotten about, and that have since become important to you again. And just gather up all those observations you've made about that experience. And think about where you are right now, today. What are you going through today? What is the challenge, or the hardship, or the adversity, or the difficulty that you might still be facing today? And how are you going to come out the other side of it? How can you connect into resilience? How can you try and plan to come out the other side? Grounded in yourself, back on your path towards what matters to you, and perhaps even taking something helpful from the experience. So I hope that was a useful exercise. As always, remember, if you need any additional support, our team of psychologists at Sydney City Psychology are available, and we would love to hear from you. We offer in-person sessions and online telehealth sessions. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the best of luck as we reopen and head into our new normal ahead. Take care of yourself, take care of one another, and thank you for spending this time with me today.